Hi Capricorn, welcome back to the Astrology 33 channel. This is your July 2026 tarot reading. Thank you to those of you who have liked, viewed, shared, and subscribed to the channel. I appreciate all of that. For those of you new to the channel, as far as what we have in front of us, it's a 12 card spread with each card representing a different house of the zodiac, starting with your sign, Capricorn, as the first house, all the way through to Sagittarius representing the 12th. When we get to roll that, we'll pull an oracle card as well with some additional insight. As far as the decks being used this month, for the main tarot deck, we have the Guardian of the Night Tarot, and for the Oracle deck, we'll be using the Spirit Animal Oracle. And we'll actually start the reading off by rolling some astrology dice to get an idea of where your focus should be as far as that goes. Alright, we have Mars. So, at the time I'm recording this, it hasn't moved into Gemini just yet, but Mars will be moving into Gemini on the 28th of June, and then it will be in Gemini all of July. So for you guys, Gemini is your 6th house of work, health, and daily routine. Alright, 1. So in this context, we would say that would be your energy. So it could just be saying that maybe you have a little bit more focus on yourselves this month than usual. And we have Pisces. So for you guys, Pisces is actually your 3rd house of communication, short journeys, and siblings. And astrologically speaking, that area of the zodiac's a little quiet. I mean, we have the North Node wrapping up its transit through there, and on the 26th of July, it'll move out of Pisces and into Aquarius. But in general, this could just be pointing to the fact that we'll have Mercury retrograde, which will technically be in Cancer, which is your 7th house, but that could impact communications nonetheless. So the Mercury retrograde will technically start on the 29th of June, and then we'll see a direct cycle begin on the 23rd of July. So definitely be some impact on your communications as far as that goes. But all right, with all that out of the way, we get started. For the 1st house energy, we have the 6 of Swords. So 1st house in general points to personality, self-awareness, and appearance. And to see this here could just be saying that maybe there's something that you sat with for a while that might have bothered you, right? Maybe a past argument that you could have had with someone, or some situation where you feel like you were done wrong in some way. And I feel like this is saying this month you're actually putting that behind you, which is of course a positive feeling that I'm sure you'll appreciate when you get there if you haven't already gotten there. Alright, so for the 2nd house, which in general points to possessions, self-worth, and finances, we have the 3 of Pentacles. And this is actually a Capricorn card for one, so this definitely would resonate with your energy in that regard. But seeing this here, I feel like this is saying that there could be a spirit of collaboration this month when it comes to finances, actually building something stable that you could actually be proud of in the long run. Alright, so for your 3rd house energy, which we mentioned, the dice seem to point to this as well, but 3rd house being communication, short journey, siblings, we have the Queen of Swords coming up here for you guys. So yeah, could just be saying that you will be a bit measured when it comes to how you communicate, which would obviously be a positive, like we said, given that we'll have the Mercury retrograde energy at play for most of July. But yeah, I feel like this is saying that, you'll be a bit more observant than normal, possibly as well. But yeah, I feel like you're going to be very measured as far as what you do say versus what you might hold back for the time being. For the 4th house energy, which points to home, roots, and family, we have the 5 of Wands. So yeah, so what I'm getting with this primarily could just be saying that people might be going into the situation with good intentions, but things just might be a little bit disorganized, right? So it could be, let's say if you do live with someone else, right, you might put something in one spot with a reason behind it, and then the other person might not be aware of that, so they see it, think it's out of place, and then they move it right back to where it was before, right? And so it could just be one of those things where you might feel like you're fighting an uphill battle as far as that goes if there's not clear communication on why things are being done. All right, For the fifth house energy, which points to romance, creativity, and children, we have the Seven of Pentacles. So this is Taurus energy, which actually is your natural fifth house. But seeing this here, you could just be saying that you could just be looking at what you've accumulated over the years when it comes to those kinds of things, right? So whether it be experiences around romance or um, creative projects that you might have worked on for a certain time, but then tucked them away and ended up not really fully completing them, things along those lines. There, you could just be reflecting back on some of that and figuring out what you could use today. All right, so for your sixth house energy, which, as we mentioned, technically is coming up with the dice as well, given that it points to the Mars energy, which will be in your sixth house, we have the Eight of Pentacles. So sixth house points to health, work, daily routines. So to me, this looks like a positive for that house, as far as it looks like an energy of building, right? Stabilizing, and thinking of the long term as well. So all good things to see happen for you guys in that area. But yeah, within the work environment, this could also just be saying that maybe you're teaching yourself some new skills too. For your seventh house energy, which points to partnerships, contracts, and relationships, we have the Two of Cups. So this is Cancerian energy here, which is your natural seventh house. So that's definitely a positive to see that match up there. But yeah, this could just be saying that maybe when it comes to your romantic lives, there could be some positive momentum there. But even just with partnerships in general, right? Because we do tend to think romantic partnerships first with this energy, but if we also think about seven house representing contracts as well, it could be financial partnerships too. So more than anything, it just seems like a meeting of the minds where two people feel like they're on the same page when it comes to something. So it's good energy to see there. All right, so for your eighth house energy, which points to death, rebirth, intimacy, and investments, we have the Nine of Cups. So yeah, so there could just be a little bit of celebration around that area of life, right? So like we mentioned, if your romantic lives are going very well, then yeah, that could reflect with the intimacy as well, right? So be pointing to that for some of you. But for others of you, given what we were talking about, the Three of Pentacles energy as well, this could point more to an energy of building as far as that goes, right? Maybe investments that you've made, you're starting to see them pay off, starting to see them grow, things along those lines there. All right, so for your ninth house energy, which points primarily to philosophy, higher learning, and foreign affairs, we have the Three of Cups. So Cancerian energy here, and I feel like this is saying that for some of you might just be taking a bit more of a light approach when it comes to those things this month. Not necessarily taking yourselves too seriously. This could just be pointing to the fact that we'll have Venus moving through your ninth house starting on the 9th of July and basically closing out the month in that same area of the sky for you. So that could be part of what's lending to this lighter mood. But yeah, that looks like a good energy. All right, so for your 10th house energy, which points to career and social status, we have the Sun. So for you guys, technically, the 10th house for your chart would be Libra, which is pretty quiet right now, astrologically speaking. But nonetheless, I feel like this is saying you might be getting some recognition when it comes to that area of life and just feeling revitalized as well. So that could be going back to what we were saying as far as the Eight of Pentacles, right? Maybe you're teaching yourself some new skills, and that's actually making you feel rejuvenated, revitalized when it comes to your work. But definitely looks like positive energy here nonetheless. All right, so for your 11th house, which points primarily to friendships, groups, hopes, and wishes, we have the Three of Wands. So yeah, so this energy here, I feel like this is saying that you're going to rely on the connections that you've already built, right? And then I also feel like this is saying that, there's a level of contentment with those connections. So to go along with that, there might be a mentality that you have of, you're content with where you are as far as your friendships, the group that you're dealing with, and you're not going to actively pursue anyone to help expand those groups, but there's an openness to expanding the group if it were to come your way and the opportunity seemed like a good fit. All right, so for your 12th house, which in general, 12th house points to mental health, blind spot, spirituality, we have the Eight of Wands. So looks like this could just be saying your inner world could be quite busy this month. Maybe you have a lot of things on your mind. No, I mean, astrologically speaking, I will say we haven't had it yet, but there will be a full moon in your sign on the 29th of June. So as we do lead into July, right, you could still be feeling some residual effects of that. But yeah, that's primarily what I'm seeing there. This is at least, all things considered, 12th house energy can be a little tricky, but to see this energy, I feel like it's just saying that there's going to be a lot of buzzing energy in your inner world more than anything, but not necessarily in a negative way. It could just be a lot of thoughts coming to you. All right, and bottom of the deck, we have the Ace of Cups. So yeah, so to me, this says that it looks like you have an energy of creating on your mind, right? So whether it be creative projects or just growing connections, solidifying those connections, it looks like that's just going to be something that's in the forefront of your mind this month. But see what the Oracle card adds to the mix. So what I'm going to do is I'll just give this a few shuffles, then we'll cut the deck and pull a card. All right, take this card, get this out of the way, and we'll see what you got. All right, we have Dragonfly Spirit. Truth transcends illusion. So we'll see what this has to say. Sounds interesting already. All right, the Oracle message says, Dragonfly Spirit is here to remind you of the wisdom and truth available at all times in the hidden realms. Just as Dragonfly catches your eye with its reflective wings and body, Dragonfly Spirit appears to tell you to pay attention to the truth beyond the illusion and recognize the insights that come seemingly out of nowhere, peeking through from behind the veil. In the realm of spirit, there is far more wisdom than you can perceive with your senses, and there is a deep knowing that you are not separate or alone, for a higher power recognizes you and loves you beyond measure. Fear dissipates as you realize you are embraced by the nurturing force that is everywhere. Fear dissipates as you realize you are embraced by the nurturing force that is everywhere, always in communication with you. Alighting when you are preoccupied, Dragonfly Spirit offers this message. You exist in unity with all, including the protective spirit who share their wisdom, and you are being nudged along the path your soul needs to travel to have the experiences it craves. Love exists in many forms, and sometimes we overlook it when we don't recognize a particular form. Pay attention to the signs now. They remind you that each of us have inspired dreams seamlessly sewn into the fabrics of the invisible world, and there is a great consciousness that exists in the seemingly empty spaces, guiding us on our journey. Open to the truth, letting the wisdom of hidden realms inform you, providing insights your conscious mind overlooks. So yeah, I mean, that was quite the lengthy message, but definitely sounds like a positive message to go along with the main spread. And hopefully that resonated with you guys, and we'll wrap up there. All right, bye.